welcome back to this week's episode of Youth Live. We are so excited to have you guys here. So sit back, relax, maybe grab a little snack, and enjoy. And remember, we are Youth Live.
Welcome back, guys, to another segment of In the Works. And today, I invite you to take out your cards and invite some friends because we're gonna learn a super fun game called Quick Hands. The thing is that I can't show you the game by myself, and I don't have any friends.
What?
Wait, I don't have any friends with me right now. Yes. So let's ask Jose and some of our friends from Youth Alive in Dallas to show us how to play this game called Quick Hands. Let's go.
Hey guys, I'm here in Dallas, Texas with my friends
Juan, Felipe.
Maria Paula.
and we are about to play Quick Hands. The only thing that you have to have in order to play this game is a deck of cards. And the only thing that you have to do with your friends is putting your cards facing this way on the table, and as soon you see a face card, your friends have to put their hands on the deck of cards. The last one putting his or her hand on the cards will have 1 point. If you have 5 points, you will have to do a challenge.
He was destined to leave sooner or later. Don't blame yourself. Dismiss him from your mind and move on. To be a ninja, you need more than strength and jutsu. You must acquire the judgment to make the right decisions. If you want to live as a ninja, you must become smarter. This world is no place for a fool. That's the reality.
So this is our loser. Sorry, bro. I'm trying. Great challenge. And it's a really nice play that you can game that you can play with your friends.
There you go.
Game that you can play with your friends. You will have a lot of fun. And remember that we are
Unified.
Stop it. Get some help.
No, let's do it again. Hold on. And remember that we are losers.
Hello, Youth Alive! Welcome back to this week's segment of Hidden Gems. In today's episode, we are going to venture out. So join us.
Alright, Youth Alive. So our first stop today is Pinky Tree Boutique, located in the Katy area. To learn more about Pinky Tree, it's a boutique of all local shoppers. You can buy things from candles, clothes, fashion, decor, and honestly, we've seen a little bit of everything, and the experience is so unique. So keep joining us while we see a little bit more about the Pantry boutiques.
As I said, you can find a little bit of everything. All right, Youth Alive, this is our second and last stop for today. If you are not a coffee person like I am, don't worry, don't be afraid. They have a whole bunch of things that you can choose from. They have sandwiches, teas, bagels, sushi, gelato, smoothies. They have a whole bunch of stuff that you can delight yourself in. So, join me. Let's go check it out. And that is a wrap for this week's Hidden Gems. As always, we encourage you to go out, enjoy your youth, because remember, we are Youth Alive.
Hello guys, today in Upgrade, we are going to continue learning about suffering. And we are going to be answering the question, what is God's role in our suffering? And the fact that we all experience suffering has brought out a lot of questions about the existence of God. And that is the same reason why we started this topic on apologetics, because we wanted to answer those same questions. But before we proceed, we went around and we asked some questions about suffering to some college students. So let's see what they had to say first.
Hi, my name is Matthew Brown.
Hi, I'm Nick Harris.
Pain and suffering will probably never end because people inherently want things that other people have. So until people don't want things other people have, suffering won't end.
I think his role is it's really just to teach, a lesson, not like intentionally, like as in a mean and like a hurtful way. I think it's just, he does that so that we can learn and move on and grow better as a person and follow him better. I think that's what it's all about.
As you can see, we all have different ideas and different experiences about suffering. And those ideas and those experiences are the ones molding the image of God in our lives. And in the search to explain pain and suffering, many philosophers have come up with statements to question the existence of God. And I have an example here from the Greek philosopher Epicurus. God either wishes to take away evil and he is unable.
My child, I want to help you, but I can't do anything about it.
Or he is able and unwilling.
I see your suffering and pain, but I don't want to do anything to take it away.
Or he is neither willing nor able.
I see your pain and your suffering, but I can't do anything about it. I don't want to either.
Or he is both willing and able.
My child, I see your pain. I can take it away, so I will remove it from your life.
If he is willing but unable, he is feeble, which is not in accordance with the character of God. If he is able and unwilling, he is envious, which is equally at variance with God. If he is both envious and feeble, and therefore not God. If he is both willing and able, which alone is suitable for God, from what source then are evils? Or why doesn't he remove them? This philosopher is basically stating that God's role in our suffering, our pain, is non-existent, that God is limited and that he is powerless. But that's not what the Bible tells us about the nature of God. And if you think about it, it doesn't make sense for us to trust, believe, follow, devote our lives to a God who is limited and powerless. And why is that? We as Christians, we believe in God's promises. And if he can't back those up, there's no reason for us to trust and believe those promises. It's like trying to get money from a bankrupt account. Also, if God is limited, then he doesn't have the power to intervene, to do something about the pain and suffering of the world that is around us or in our own lives. And that would mean that God doesn't have the power, or that he is limited as far as judging evil and judging sin. But the Bible doesn't say that about God. The Bible tells us that God is eternal, that God is uncreated, that God is perfect in love, that he is all powerful, that he is all wise, and that God is unchanging and unchangeable. Now, there are others like Scientologists and some atheists who argue that evil is an illusion of our mind, and that we don't really need God for it, that we can quickly resolve those things with self-help and human effort. But that doesn't make sense either. We can't pretend to solve all the pain and suffering in the world or in our lives just with our own help, with our own efforts, with our own capabilities. We need God to make sense of it all. We need God to heal our hearts. We need God to give a purpose in the midst of that pain and that suffering. And pain and suffering is important for us, and it's important to God as well. And in the midst of that pain and suffering, we will also see God's purpose and God's power. But we can't just pretend that it doesn't happen. We can't pretend that we can solve everything and just try to quickly resolve it. Because we need to learn from those experiences, and we need to be able to see God's power and God's love through all of those things. So for that, let's read John 9, 1 through 9.
I'm sorry, it's actually John 9, 1 through 5.
So that we can see an example in the Bible, and we can learn more from this.
As Jesus walked along, he saw a man who was blind from birth. Jesus' disciples asked, "Rabbi, who sinned so that he was born blind? This man or his parents?" Jesus answered, "Neither he nor his parents. This happened so that God's mighty work might be displayed in him. While it's daytime, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world."
All right. So in these verses, we see that the disciples are first, they're trying to find who was to blame for this man's blindness. And in verse number 3, we see that Jesus is correcting them about the question they're asking. It's not about whose blame is it, it's about what's God's purpose in this situation. Verse number 5 tells us that Jesus is the light of the world. Now, there are two important lessons that we can get from these verses. The first one is that it's very easy for us to try to find someone to blame. It's very easy for us to try to find an individual or blame the environment or even blame ourselves for that pain and suffering. But that won't help us in getting any healing or understanding in those situations. The second thing is that Jesus is the only one who can help us see God's purpose and involvement in our suffering, in our pain. And before we do our recap, I want to share with you guys my testimony, and I want to introduce you to a very important person in my life.
This is my little sister. She is 12 years old and was born with Down syndrome, a genetic condition that causes many physical and learning difficulties. This means that Isabella will have a harder time in life than many of us. Down syndrome doesn't have a cure, so it's not something we can change. When our family found out Isabella was born with Down syndrome, we were really sad and maybe angry. We knew how difficult this was going to be for us and for her. With time, we learned that we couldn't blame anyone for this. It wasn't her fault, neither my parents' fault. That this was God's will and that He was going to take us all through it. Now we understand that God had a purpose. Isabella's condition has brought us together as a family. The youngest member of our family has taught us the most important lessons of life, and I wouldn't change a thing about her. She is perfect the way God made her.
So let's recap. In regards of that initial question, what is God's role in our pain and suffering? The answer is number one, God is near and He is very close to us when we suffer. As Christians, we never suffer alone. Number two, God is all powerful and He is all wise, and He is the only one who can give us the explanation, the best explanations for our pain and suffering. He's the only one that can give us a purpose in the midst of pain and suffering. And number three, before we quickly try to get rid of that pain and suffering, let's ask God to shed some light into our condition. Let's ask God to help us see His purpose, see His love and His power in those situations. All right, guys, that's all for today's upgrade. We'll see you next week. And remember, we are
You Alive. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode. We hope you had an amazing time. Don't forget to share with at least one person. We are here every Wednesday on Twitter at 7 p.m. We hope you like the show, and remember, we are Youth Alive.